Opening day is finally here. Welcome to opening day, guys, and welcome to Locked On Marlins. The Marlins have just announced their lineup for game one of 162 in the 2023 season, digging into all of the storylines and what, in my opinion, appears to be a stunning lineup, the best lineup the Marlins have had in many, many years. Going to dig into all of that and look ahead to game one. All on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This, of course, is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up on Twitter at Miami Marlins _UK. If you are listening to the pod, hit subscribe. Of course, it is your team every day and they are available everywhere. If you're watching on YouTube, hello, greetings. If you are listening and thinking about YouTube, head on over to Locked On Marlins on YouTube. Hit subscribe there too. Guys, you may be wondering, this intro, it feels like Pete is hyped. Are you hyped, Pete? Yes, I'm absolutely hyped. It is just after 5 p.m. here UK time. The Marlins lineup has just dropped. I wasn't going to do a pod pre-game, but I've just seen that lineup and I've got extremely hyped. When you actually piece this together, this looks like a stunning lineup. And all of a sudden, this Marlins team, to me, looks like they can make some serious noise in 2023. Equally, I have also seen the Phillies roster. And when you put the Phillies roster, like when it's there on paper and you look at it, no Hoskins, no Bryce Harper. I think they've got Ranger Suarez going on the IL from a pitching perspective. I'm thinking, the Phillies don't look that strong. All of a sudden, they're relying on a Nick Castellanos comeback year, kind of similar to the Marlins with Avisel Garcia. But looking at the Phillies and thinking, not sure about them, boys. The Braves look strong, but hey, Marcell Ozuna's back out in left field. Then it's the Mets. We're going to see the Mets firsthand tonight. Let's see what the Mets have got. Sandy Alcantara going up against Max Scherzer in game one. It is a wonderful, wonderful matchup. No doubt about it. It is one of the premier matchups, I would say, across all of Major League Baseball. And I think there will be a lot of national eyes onto these Miami Marlins in 2023. So many storylines this year, guys. So many that will play out. But we're finally through spring. Finally. It felt like a long spring with a bit of WBC excitement sprinkled in there. But finally, the action is here. And listen, how's this lineup looking? This is what got me hyped. Luis Arias is playing second base and he's in the leadoff spot. That's been, I would say, what was expected. However, with Luis Arias, we did see some impressive results from him in the 3-hole during the WBC. But Arias, as talked about, as expected, is leading off. He just needs to do what he does. Hit 300 all year, sprinkle in some bombs. He looks like he likes hitting in Lone Depot, so that's positive. So wait to see if that translates to the Marlins itself. Arias leading off. Mean Gene Segura playing at third base, but in the 2-hole. I think I talked about this a few weeks back, saying that to me felt like the ultimate combo of Luis Arias, Mean Gene. Then it was maybe thinking, okay, maybe you have Jazz Chisholm Jr. in the 3 spot. No, Garrett Cooper's in there. Coop is in the 3-hole. I actually like Coop there. And then Jazz Chisholm Jr., there's 2 key storylines. He's in center field. Firstly, we know about that. Either way, there's going to be a lot of attention and a lot of eyeballs on Jazz Chisholm Jr. in center field. Not just for this game, not just for this series, but the whole season. We just want to see what it looks like trying to man center field in Lone Depot in tight ball games. The Marlins are going to be playing in a lot of tight ball games. The pitching will keep them in it, as we know. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Jazz, no doubt about it. There's going to be growing pains. We know about it. We're going to have to acknowledge that. I was listening to Aram Leighton earlier on the Just Baseball opening day preview pod. Great pod, by the way, so go and check that out. Going through every team, every matchup in opening day. But Aram Leighton, the main takeaway, the main thing he wants to see is, what does this defense look like for the Marlins? We're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to carry on with this offense because Jazz hitting cleanup is perfect for Jazz. He's the most electric cleanup hitter I think we've ever seen. Never seen a cleanup hitter that can steal 30 to 40 bags in a year, hit 30, 35, 40 bombs. Who knows with Jazz? But he is looking, listen, what that says to me as well about Jazz, he just is the centerpiece of the Marlins right now. He is everything to the Marlins. Center fielder, cleanup hitter, absolute stud. He's the face of everything the Marlins are doing. Jazz Chisholm, huge part of the Marlins. Very intrigued to see whether they get any extension talks rolling at any point in 2023. In the 5 spot, so then following Jazz there, DHing Jorge Soler. Maybe all of the spring action out in the outfield was a bit of a red herring. I don't know. Maybe Jorge Soler just kind of settles into the DH spot and kind of spends most of his time there. I've got no problem with that. And after last year and the back issues, I've got no problem with Jorge Soler being in the DH spot. However, the majority of guys in this lineup had some sort of issue. And so we can't just say, oh, well, it must be Jorge Soler that takes it. But he just profiles as a DH. He was okay in left field, Jorge Soler. So I'm not overly concerned if he ends up spending time in the outfield. But overall, I like him in the 5 spot. Remember last year he was up at some points. Jorge Soler was like leading off or 2 spot, 3 spot. Didn't seem to move tons in the order. Down at the 5 spot to me makes a ton of sense. The Marlins are trying to get some contact going. Contact with Arias, contact with Mean Gene, gap with Coop, power and speed with Jazz. Then the big boys come in the 5 spot. Jorge Soler. In the 6 hole, playing right field, Avisail Garcia. I wonder if Avi sliding down to the 6 spot, bit of pressure off. Avi, no need to be in the cleanup spot like last year. The worst cleanup hitter probably there's ever been. It was absolutely disgraceful. Avi, slide down in the 6 spot. And if you've got guys on in front of you, Avi at the back end of last year, he ended up just kind of slap hitting some opposite field singles. It's kind of what he was doing just to, just get some hits going. So I'm intrigued to see the way that Avi goes, but it does take the pressure off him sliding down to the 6 spot. Brian De La Cruz, we heard from Skip Schumacher yesterday that Brian De La Cruz likely to be, effectively pretty much every day out there in left field. So Skip said it heading into spring that he thought Brian De La Cruz should have, around about 500 at-bats this year if everything is healthy. We weren't certain how it was going to play out with Jesus Sanchez and with all the other situations going on. But, Skip, I think, basically calling out that it's not a direct platoon situation with De La Cruz and Jesus Sanchez. He's expecting De La Cruz to be out there. Do wonder, where Jesus Sanchez's at-bats are going to come from. I mean, Max Scherzer is a righty. Would be an optimal time for Jesus Sanchez to be playing okay. Max Scherzer is a very good righty, and so maybe it's letting Jesus take the righties, but maybe not the elite righties. Nevertheless, I can see that situation with Avisail Garcia, Jesus Sanchez splitting a little bit of time. Wait to see. We then followed up Jacob Stallings, of course. Stallings will be playing anytime Sandy Alcantara will be playing and pitching, of course. And Stallings is hitting in the 8th spot, leaving Joey Wendell at shortstop in his first time in game 1. So overall, just to recap on that: Luis Arias, Mean Gene Segura, Cooper Loop, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Jorge Soler, Skinny Avi, Brian De La Cruz, Jacob Stallings, and Joey Wendell. Sandy Alcantara on the mound. Listen, guys, when I look at this lineup now on paper, it looks extremely balanced. I absolutely love it. I wasn't certain how I'd feel about this Marlins offense, but now it's down and it's on paper and they've got these guys in these spots. It's glorious. It's a glorious lineup. And listen, I'm sitting here right now with what we got. We've got 4 hours, just under 4 hours until the first pitch. I'm sitting here thinking the Marlins are going to absolutely smash up the Mets. They're going to smash them up. We'll wait to see. Like Aram said, the defense is going to be very interesting, particularly in these tight ball games. We expect it to be tight ball games. Sandy Alcantara, Max Scherzer, it's going to be tight. Can the Marlins defense hold? What can they do offensively? Those are going to be the questions that will need to be answered throughout the season, but including in game 1. Let's tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel. Almost got the wrong ad. Let's get the graphics pumped as well. So the tournament is heating up in the NBA, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. Just go to FanDuel.com/ Locked On, and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line, point spreads, to which team will be cutting down the net. Love to see it. All on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And I, for one, have been checking out some of the odds today on opening day. I think the Marlins were betting favorites in this one. They're home, okay. Sandy Alcantara is going okay. But I mean, the Marlins favorites? Even the bookies believe. Even the bookies are believing it when they've seen this lineup, perhaps. I don't know. Overall, though, I'm feeling extremely hyped about the year ahead. Clearly, it's just great to have baseball back. What's going to be happening here in Locked On Marlins HQ over in the UK is I'm going to be enjoying a game or two elsewhere, be watching some other baseball in advance. We're not on the early slot. Let's hope that we don't have a Jose Urena, Ian Happ situation where there's a boom barrel first pitch of the season. Still one of the most wildest, funniest moments there's ever been. I do remember that one. Sat there with my son, Theo. I had my Marlins jersey on. He was maybe, eating a biscuit. I don't know, whatever you do when you're like, what was he, 2, 1.5? Saying, hey, let's watch the baseball together, Theo. And next thing is a ball disappears into the stands. And both of we looked at each other just going, uh-oh, here we go. He even knew then. But it's such a great day, opening day. It's been great seeing on Twitter all the stories coming out, everyone talking about what opening day means to them. I haven't followed the game for long, so I don't have a ton of tradition, let's say, but it's great seeing some of the guys. I saw takes were made saying that it's part of his routine, going with him, his brother, I think, and his dad. That's what they do every year, et cetera, et cetera. So great to see, guys. Overall, I'm feeling pumped for today's game. I'm feeling pumped for this season. The key question outside of the defense, looking back to last year, is can the Marlins stay healthy? Can they? Because if they stay healthy, this lineup can do some damage. I'm telling you, this lineup can do damage. And the Marlins with this lineup last year were hanging tough. They were around about 500 club at that point. They were kind of like ebbing and flowing, couldn't quite get back to 500 after a hot start. Then the injuries kicked in and it was game over. So I do give him some leeway. I do give Kim some leeway on that. When she was saying, the talent is indicative of the results, or the records are indicative of the talent on the roster, or whatever way it was. I do, listen, you lose key players like a Jazz Chisholm, you lose key players like Jorge Soler. That's a lot to take out of your lineup. This lineup right now, it looks miles more balanced. There's more contact guys in there. There's going to be runners on base. And with that, it's interesting to see the way the Marlins and guys more generally, they will approach base running itself. I guess this is one of the key things with Jazz in the cleanup spot. Are the Marlins looking for him to run less? Maybe. I'm intrigued. But, fundamentally, if Jazz is on base and there's, less than 2 outs, Jazz should be stealing bags. Like that's just going to be happening. It's going to be happening, particularly in, hitting in front of Jorge Soler and Avisail Garcia for certain. But can the Marlins stay healthy? It's going to be one of the key topics. Last year, they struggled. They've got so much depth, infield depth in particular, sitting at AAA. I mean, there's so many options at shortstop. I'm really intrigued to see the way Joey Wendell goes at short. Again, last year, he started really hot, Joey Wendell, really hot. Really enjoyed his at-bats. Then he got hurt, and then I really didn't enjoy his at-bats as the year went on. He's not been great in spring. But yeah, as Aram called it as well on the Just Baseball show today, like just starting to see this defense working. What's it going to look like? A Joey Wendell to Luis Arias double play, which, we're going to see plenty of that with Sandy Alcantara today. Like that's what he leans on. So what's this defense going to do behind him? How is it going to work for Joey Wendell? Really, really intrigued. Really am. Guys, this is a breezy episode. I wanted to just get on and give a lineup reaction. That's all it is. It got me hyped. I hope this pod gets you hyped. There will be an episode after the game too. So it's going to be a double episode extravaganza. I'm going to try to not drink too much wine so I can still talk for that episode. In the meantime, guys, thanks for making Locked On Marlins potentially your first listen. There's so much content out there today, and it is glorious. It is opening day. The Marlins lineup looks ready for serious damage. Sandy Alcantara ready to go. I'm pumped. Hopefully you're pumped. See you soon.